When are you going to talk about Erin Pizzey being chased out of the country for starting a men's domestic violence shelter? Okay, it's another round of these are not facts, they're just things you made up to justify your feelings.
Nope, more like another episode of Brett lying as usual. Brett the Ex Patriarch. I don't know, maybe Brett the Liar is a better name, because that's basically what this guy does. He is obsessed with attacking MRAs, including times that he's attacked myself with lies, as usual, and he makes very disingenuous arguments. He's obsessed with attacking and trying to discredit MRAs. Here's his series called MRAs Are Dangerous, and the very first one is about me, where he accuses me of being a terrorist. His arguments are always disingenuous, he twists words around, he takes things out of context, and frankly, he just blatantly lies. So today, I'm going to look at one of the lies he just said, but first, let's talk a little bit more about Brent. The thing to understand about Brett is that he is a massively pathetic failure on YouTube. Look at his TikTok stats. Okay, 111,000 followers, 3.5 million likes. His videos get tens of thousands of views. But here's his YouTube, 114 subscribers. His most viewed video has 642 views, and his second most viewed has less than 200. And even though he tried to buy a fancy microphone and professional equipment, it didn't work. His most recent video was from a month ago, and he only got 28 views in a month. Gee, it sure is suspicious that someone is successful pushing lies and division on a company owned by the Chinese government accused of spreading false propaganda and indoctrinating Americans. That's weird, don't you think? I mean, think about that. The one owned by the Chinese government that's intentionally used to spread false information and propaganda, he has millions of views. On YouTube, he's an absolute nobody. Now, I am sorry to subject you to him. Oh, wait a minute. There's more. We've emailed each other. I forgot to mention, he's a complete total coward because he agreed to come on my channel or another channel and debate, and he never did. This is my email to him. Hello, Brent. I'd like to debate on men's rights, especially your video on Spain's Domestic Violence Against Women Act and the video you made here. And then I have a link. I believe you would fail to make a compelling rebuttal about the claim that the courts are misandrist and can and do often result in falsely accused men receiving undue punishment as well as fake female victims receiving undue compensation. Although a debate on the men's rights movement also, meaning like in general, would be welcome. Would you have any interest? Signed, Blue Orange 22. Now, if his response doesn't show what a manipulative liar he is, then I'm sorry. But here's his response. Hey, Blue, I wouldn't feel comfortable debating the Spanish laws for a couple of reasons. I'm not familiar with Spanish culture, having never lived there, and couldn't really speak to the reasons behind why the women's court was necessary, nor could I speak with confidence about the subsequent amendments to the original law. It'd be disingenuous to debate with any authority or credibility on the topic without having that perspective and background. What? It would be disingenuous to discuss it with confidence? He literally did an entire video about it where he discussed it with confidence. This is that video.
When a woman accuses a man of domestic violence, the man is immediately declared guilty, and he has to demonstrate that he is innocent.
So on this page I have a phrase, facts, not feelings. So let's look at the facts of this, shall we? Now your comment in which you made the claims in the opening of this video that men in Spain are presumed guilty until proven innocent has gone, but my reply saying that this is obviously not true is still there. As is your tag.
I'm sorry, what did his response say? That he wouldn't feel comfortable debating Spanish laws and it would be disingenuous to debate with any authority or credibility, even though that's literally exactly what you did? See, I hope people are beginning to realize that this guy is an utter fraud. And the fact that his TikTok has 3 million views and his YouTube videos can't even get 30 views really kind of proves just how fake his TikTok really is. And the reason why he backed out of debating the Spanish laws was because he watched my channel, realized that I knew what I was talking about, and that would utterly destroy him. But let's go to that last paragraph in his response. Otherwise, I'd be happy to talk on the men's rights movement. For example, how it's not only not helpful, but actually does harm to men and men's advocacy. Okay. So here's my first reply. I basically say, hey, Brett, thanks for the reply. And it's kind of funny because I basically just said exactly what I just said now. I quoted his answer, and then I said, I have to ask, though, if this is how you feel on the matter, Why did you both feel the need and credibility to make that TikTok video on the false accusations in Spain? If you yourself say that you do not understand with confidence the culture and amendments, how can you be so confident in dismissing the claim? He never answered that, of course. He never answered me again. That was his last thing he ever said. And okay, I'll discuss the MRM with you. So you saw the email in which he agreed to have the debate. He never did, though. This is the last email I sent him 2 days later. I said, I'd like to do something somewhat official, a proper event on a major channel, somewhere neutral. I'm thinking Destiny's channel with a few weeks to prepare and advertise. What do you think about this? And I never hear from him again. I think he went to my YouTube channel, saw the breakdown videos I did of him, realized that he'd get destroyed and that I see right through his tricks and lies and manipulation. And if he can't do his quick hit and run tactics on TikTok, he's scared. He saw what a failure he was on YouTube, and he realized that without the Chinese algorithm helping him, that he's got nothing. And that's kind of the last I ever heard of him. But anyway. And guys, I did block his email out, but if you do find his email, please don't harass him or send him, harassing messages. Just don't do it, But anyway, on to today's lie. He talks about Erin Pizzey and MRAs.
Now, misogynists love to bring up Erin Pizzey and use her as an example of the intolerance and hatred that men's advocates face. Erin Pizzey is notable for starting the first domestic violence shelter for women in the UK in 1971. Pizzey tried to open a shelter for men but faced violent threats from angry feminists and had to flee the country. See? Look at what we face, they say. Except it's not true. What it is an example of is misogynists once again fabricating a complete lie and then using that lie to attack women.
Except it is true, and the one lying is Brent, because you can find literally dozens of interviews of Erin Pizzey on YouTube where she specifically talks about how she was harassed by feminists after opening the men's shelter. It would take you 5 seconds on YouTube to find this out for yourself. And he knows this, which is why he chooses to lie about it instead.
While they will happily invoke Pizzey's name all over the internet, what about Erin Pizzey? Look at what happened to Erin Pizzey. What they refuse to do is actually engage with anything Pizzey has written or said about her story, such as her various newspaper interviews or her autobiography, This Way to the Revolution. And Pizzey's been clear that what actually happened is that as a result of her years of work around domestic violence victims, she came to a number of conclusions and observations. And Pizzey, who we should note is not a therapist, social worker, or trained mental health professional, put forth her opinion that there are 2 types of domestic violence victim. There are those who are genuinely trying to escape violence, and then there are those women who Pizzey saw as every bit as violent and abusive as the men they were fleeing, that these women would return to and seek out violent relationships, that they were addicted to violence. But any mental health professional will tell you that this behavior can be a response to trauma, which Pizzey herself also recognizes. And it was for these views that Pizzey found women were speaking out against her and her work, organizing protests, saying that she was blaming victims and provoking men.
This is one of the most infuriating feminist lies. And Brett, you just literally lied about what she said right there when she was saying that she found that some violence is reciprocal and women are responding to the violence, which Erin Pizzey did acknowledge does happen sometimes, that she was then accused of victim shaming. The thing is, though, when feminists always say this, and it's a very common thing that feminists say, is that most abusive women are just being abusive in self-defense, that's victim blaming the male victims. Because no, there's a lot of times when the man is the victim and just the victim. And he's not provoking her, he's not asking for it, he's not being violent first, he's just straight up the victim of domestic abuse. But when you see how Brett mocks male victims later on in the video, his attitude kind of makes perfect sense. But that's a feminist lie I see all the time, and it's infuriating. It's basically following the Duluth model.
Male violence. But she didn't just face opposition from feminists. In her book, she details a frightening encounter one night where a group of young men show up to her home and start chanting Erin Pizzey, black, 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 out, 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 which she understood to be a genuine threat against her household from the National Front. The National Front is a group of far-right ethnic nationalists who are fans of the Mustache Man and laundry detergent, if you catch my meaning. Saying that while the hostility she faced for her views on domestic violence was unpleasant, it was worse to know that she was now a target of the National Front. Pizzey specifies it was a number of factors, mostly her ousting from the refuge she founded.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Pizzey specifies it was a number of factors, mostly her ousting from the refuge she founded.
Hang on, so in her words, she left the country mostly because of her ousting from refuge, as well as other factors as well. Sure, those other factors are true and they are part of it, but just because she was also being harassed by other groups doesn't make it a lie to say that she was harassed by feminists because she opens a men's shelter. I mean, it really is kind of a litmus test of someone's intelligence or attention span if they believe anything this guy says. In the book that he accuses MRAs of not reading, he literally quotes the part of her book that proves that he's lying. So it's like, it's mind-boggling the amount of doublethink you have to have. He's making the argument that MRAs are lying when we say that Erin Pizzey said that she was harassed by feminists for opening a men's shelter. And to prove that point, he quotes the part of her book in which she says she was harassed by feminists for not opening a men's shelter. I have to ask you, if you're a Brent fan, like, do you actually do any thinking at all? Are you paying attention to a word that he's actually saying? You know, like, I mean, come on.
Her growing legal battles and very real threat of a prison sentence, concerns that her son was falling in with the wrong crowd, her desire to escape the influence of David Astor, that all led to her decision to leave for New Mexico, where she would again face harassment from local racists.
Which again has nothing to do with the fact that she was harassed by feminists. Yes, those other things existed, but guess what, Brent? More than one thing can exist at a time.
She never mentions it being in any part about threats over the men's shelter.
You yourself literally read the quote from her book in which she said that was the first thing. Also, you can go on YouTube and just look up Erin Pizzey Feminists or Erin Pizzey Men's Shelter. She talks about the harassment and abuse she faced from feminists because of the men's shelter all the time. She's actually very specific about it too.
And it would be surprising if she did, since the men's shelter had already failed 5 years before. Pizzey's also talked about why the men's shelter failed. She struggled to find funding. The same men who happily donated to the women's project wouldn't donate a penny to the men's project. She also says she naively believed that the men's shelter would run like the Chiswick women's shelter, where those in the shelter would come together as a community to look after the house and take care of each other, cooking and cleaning. What she instead learned was that filling a shelter with men had them disappearing into a room and sitting helplessly on their beds, or else sulking because there was no one to run the place and take care of cooking and other practical matters. In vain, we talked to them about the setup in Chiswick. We talked about self-help.
Wow, so he's basically mocking these victims who are quite possibly mentally and maybe physically traumatized, while admitting that they couldn't get enough resources to run the shelter. So the shelter didn't have enough resources and the men seem to be traumatized, and that's the men's fault? I mean, this is the attitude that feminists have towards male victims. And if you wonder why MRAs are critical of feminists, just look at the things that feminists say. Look at how they talk about male victims. I mean, it sounds like he's almost trying to mock them for not wanting to clean up around the house. Dude, they've just been victims of abuse. They've just been traumatized. It's so unbelievably dishonest and so unbelievably disingenuous. I'm not going to finish the rest of his video. You can look it up on his TikTok if you want. There's about another 30 seconds where he just says, they couldn't get the funding, they couldn't get the help. He blames men for that. And then he says a token, oh, we should really try and help men, but not the way MRAs want to do it. Just, kind of BS. But all in all, I mean, this is just a pathetic coward. He's a liar. He is a manipulator. He's extremely disingenuous. He's a massive failure on YouTube. I absolutely do think the Chinese government loves people like him getting popular on social media, but I wonder how many of his views are even real. But my invitation to you, Brett, is still open. We can meet on a neutral channel. You can come to my channel. I'll go to your channel. Just as long as we don't do any games of like turning someone's microphone off or interrupting or editing after the fact. I want something live. And I preferably would like something moderated, but it's really up to you. I know you won't though, because I know you're a coward. And I know you will see this video, because I know you do watch my videos, because you've attempted to make breakdown of videos of me before, which of course failed miserably. But anyway, that's my video for the day. I'm Blue Orange 22. Merry Christmas. Thanks for watching. And the Dolphins are 11-4, baby. I'm feeling good. Now, I do need to bleach out my ears from listening to Brett, so I'm going to leave you with this.